Hi, everyone. I'm Denise Storman with Cool People I Know, and today I'm here with my guest and former teacher, 𝗖𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗟. I was the valedictorian of the class. That incredulous look on her face is because I'm totally making that up, but I did take her. I did take her ghostwriting class through Cal State University in Long Beach, where she is still teaching. But let me give you just a taste of 𝗖𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗟's background, because it's pretty incredible. So she's written over 200 books as a ghostwriter, including New York Times bestselling books, peer-reviewed titles, memoirs optioned for film. She created the award-winning Ghostwriting Professional Designation Program. She's launched more ghostwriting careers than anyone else in the world. And she's established the academic definition of advanced expertise in ghostwriting. She developed musical line editing, invented analysis and recommendations, formulated creative analysis, conceived ghostwriting Psych 101, built the first ghostwriting apprentice program, wrote Secrets of the Ghostwriter, the seminal text on the subject, authored This Business of Books, the critically acclaimed standard of the industry, an international bestseller. And then she produced Ghostwriters Unite, the first international conference ever for ghostwriters. And she is spearheading Ghostwriters Unite 2.0 International Conference in 2022, which I hope to attend. And let's see, what else? I mean, she's appeared everywhere. So I'll let Claudia.
So I guess today you want to talk about cooking, right?
Yeah. What's your best pot roast recipe? No. So Claudia, tell people what they don't know about ghostwriting, because there's a lot that people have no idea.
People don't know the difference between ghostwriting and writing. They don't know the difference between ghostwriting and freelancing. They don't know the difference between a first draft and a second draft. As far as the book industry is concerned, they don't know the parameters and the limitations of ghostwriting. They don't know a lot. Where would you like me to start?
So if you were, well, how I first got introduced to Claudia was I found her on Joan Stewart's website. Joan Stewart was or probably still is, doing the Publicity Hound, which me as a PR person for a lot of books and authors, I followed her quite closely, and then she introduced me to Claudia. And I think maybe here you could kind of talk a little bit about how you talked about your ghostwriting class and the pros and cons of ghostwriting, like you did for the Joan Stewart podcast that you did that got me into your class.
Well, that was a long time ago. I don't remember exactly what I said, but let me just go ahead and start from nowhere. Ghostwriting is the most lucrative career path for writers in today's world. There just is no question. The demand for professional and trained and experienced ghostwriters so far outstrips the actual number of ghostwriters there are in the world. Publishers Weekly just did an article the other day about it, and Madeline Morell, who only a literary agent who only works with ghostwriting books, said there is something like 50 or 60. That's probably true, 50 or 60. I figure globally there's less than 200 people who actually know what they're doing, who are actual pros, who don't think that ghostwriting is all about writing a book for somebody and letting them put their name on it, because that's not ghostwriting. That's freelance writing. It's a little bit unethical these days. It used to be very popular back before, things changed in the early 2000s and in the turn of the century. But then it kind of took a bomb dive when people started noticing that doctors were being attributed with journal articles that they didn't even know about. And so it gave ghostwriting a black eye. It really did. And it made people think that it was a scammy, awful business, but it's not. It is the conduit from great ideas to the publishing industry, because the fact of the matter is there are literally billions of titles in circulation at any given time. That's billions with a B, like in boy. And the ones that filter up to the top have done so because they've been worked on by a team. The idea, which got very popular with I Love Lucy, she pulled out a yellow pad and she wrote a book and she sent it in and she got a check. Ooh, that's always been a fantasy. Always been a fantasy. It's more of a fantasy than ever before. People need help writing books. And if people don't get help writing books, the non-writing authors who has something important to say, if they insist on doing it themselves, their book is not going to get through. And the only thing we're ever going to have are those books by the same old authors and the same old political leaders and the same old thought leaders over and over and over again, because they know to use somebody like us. It's been said in our industry that at least 50%, if not more, of all traditionally published books have been worked on by somebody like us, either in the publishing house, if they're a big enough name, or because they've hired somebody like us. We make the difference. We understand that a wonderful, wonderful idea that the author sits down and writes, and that all of their friends and family like, and their betas readers like, and their critique group likes, and their English teacher writes, that's still a first draft. I don't care if it's been rewritten 17 times or 150 times, or it's been rewritten for 5 years. It doesn't matter. It stays a first draft until it gets flipped to being what the reader wants to read, what the industry knows it can sell. Industry standards, reader expectations is what makes something into a second draft. And that's what gets picked up by traditional publishers. That's what sells well in the marketplace from hybrid publishers. That's what needs to be done in order to make a book into a bestseller or even a good seller, to get
What are the common
the author's
denominators?
message across.
What are the common denominators with bestsellers, in your opinion?
Oh, they're well crafted. They're
Mhm.
properly positioned. They're structured right. And they've been musically line edited. Now, that's our term that we use in our industry, musical line editing. It's the term I use when I'm teaching the concept. The same thing is done by publishers, by hybrid publishers in-house. The same thing is done in-house by traditional publishers. In hybrid publishing, you have to pay for it, okay? When it's in addition to the publishing. And in traditional houses, at this point, because it is labor intensive and it's laborious, you have to be a major name. Otherwise, your manuscript is not going to get that beautiful, detailed massage that makes all the difference. So it's positioning, it's structure, it's craft, and it's editing.
Now, let me
That's
ask
a
you
team.
this. Your musical line editing, is that a signature term that only a Claudio Cezanne student would?
Yes.
Yeah. See,
Yes, it is.
the way I think of that is, my background was always in TV and video production as well as writing. And I always found that the very best video editors had a musical background. And I know you have a musical background too.
Yes.
And so I just think that there's a rhythmic ear that we have that, the average person doesn't. And I think that's what you bring and the people that you teach bring that maybe others don't have.
Yes. We put the music, the punch, and the power, the impact into the words. We don't change the words. We don't change the intent. We don't change the perspective, but we make the words on the page. Only when you get to the final draft, only when you get to the final draft, you can really shoot yourself in the foot if you try to do this while you're doing the first pass on the book or even the second pass on the book. You want to save that until the entire manuscript is done. And then, you want to take it to musical line editing. And in our business, in our particular little company, 𝗵𝗡𝗢𝗢𝗟 Ghostwriters, I come in to help the team musically line edit on every single manuscript. So our clients not only get a primary ghostwriter and a team leader, which is how we keep it a risk-free situation. If God forbid something happens to that ghostwriter, we can bring somebody else in that we've already trained that they can just pick up and move on. But then I also come in at the end and then the musical line editing. And we have our own in-house copy editors and our own in-house proofreaders. Everything all in one place.
How do you have time to do everything you do? You just amaze me.
I don't have a life. Ghostwriting is what I do. I have two missions in life. Denise, I know I've told you this before. I'll tell you again. One is to launch as many professional ghostwriting careers as is humanly possible before I shuffle off this mortal coil. And the other is to fulfill as many literary dreams as possible. Because I'm tired of people getting ripped off. I'm tired of authors getting ripped off. I'm tired of writers getting ripped off. I'm tired of freelancers not recognizing that what they're doing is shooting themselves in the foot when they're pretending to be ghostwriters without knowing what ghostwriting is, and they can never make enough money, and they're constantly being kicked off the plate, and it's not fair and it's not right, and it's only because they don't know the realities. They don't know what the industry is looking for. A professional ghostwriter has to be a book industry authority. They have to be. So that's part of what we teach. We teach the book industry. We teach placement. We teach supply chain, which has
Big deal.
it's been in the news a lot lately. We teach positioning. We teach how to juggle bisects. We teach how to recognize the difference between an Amazon category and a category classification that a wholesaler is interested in. And we recognize that no distributor is going to pick up a self-published book unless they've read the book and they have found it worth it. It really has to be worth it. And no wholesaler is going to pick up a book from a self-published author unless, once again, they find it worth it. And that's why if you rush to publish, if you write your own book and you don't have it worked on by somebody like me, and don't send it to musical line editing, it has not been structured properly, it hasn't been positioned properly, and you rush to publish and you put it up on Amazon, which everybody thinks is the be all and end all, and it's really just nothing, because that's a direct feed from the ISBN from Bowker. As soon as there's an ISBN attached to a manuscript, it's on Amazon. It's not really an accomplishment, it's just a regular thing.
Right.
And it's never heard of again. There are billions and billions of titles on Amazon because there are billions and billions of titles being that were already written and now have been written in the last half decade, couple of decades since the print industry imploded, and easy publishing has come on the scene. And you put it up on Amazon, and your friends, you send the link to your friends and family, and other than them, they never hear of it again.
Right.
Because it hasn't been positioned properly. And because somebody goes and finds the book and they open it and they read the first couple of paragraphs and they say, and they don't even bother reading any further.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad because so much work goes into it. I'm writing my memoir right now, and so much work goes into it. And I understand that.
Heartbreaking.
It is. It's blood on paper, especially when it's your own story and you're not ghostwriting. You can't be anonymous. It's you're bleeding onto the paper.
That's what writing has always been.
Yeah.
Writing has always been opening a vein and bleeding onto the page.
Yeah. What is your favorite genre to write, Claudia?
I don't think I have one. I know that I've done a million business books, and I hope to never have to do another one. I like true crime. I like health and fitness. I like spirituality. I like history. I like psychology. I like philosophy. I like books.
Do you like science fiction or horror?
I don't like horror. I've done science fiction. Horror is just not my cup of tea. But I do have ghosts. I do have certified ghostwriters who work in horror. Fiction is always very nice, but future aspiring ghostwriters, please believe me, it's not where the money is. You're not going to cover your rent or your mortgage payment trying to do fiction. It's a very, very rough hoe to hoe. Row to hoe. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, and usually end up coaching or mentoring rather than actually ghostwriting because it's so tricky. There's so much pride of authorship, and nowadays so many people are writing novels. They're not
What,
writing novels. They're writing movels, MOVEL,
what does
as in
this mean?
movies.
Oh,
They're writing a novel as if it was a movie with a cast of characters, and you can't tell who the protagonist is, and there's protagonist handoff all over the place where the main character is not the one handling all the action, and the main character is not the main focus of it's a novel is one person's journey from beginning to end, and it's got to have a character arc, and that's why it needs to be one person. And in romance, those two people, whether it's guy, girl, 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 guy, guy, whatever, the romance becomes the main character, and it needs its character arc from beginning to end. It's one, not a cast of characters. It's not an ensemble kind of thing. Yes, there have been successful books where there was a different point of view character in every single chapter, or the same 4 or 5, 3 or 4 rotated in every chapter. And sometimes it can be successful, but only in character driven novels, not in action driven novels. Action driven novels like that are called movies or TV episodes, or whether they're video, they're visual. If you're writing a novel, if you want to make it a best-selling novel, you have to keep in mind what the industry expects, the reader wants, and how it all comes together. You can be as inventive as you want, you can be as creative as you want, but if you don't provide what the reader wants, if you don't provide what the industry knows it can sell, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
What do you think are the biggest misconceptions that people don't understand about the book industry today? And what are the trends that are driving the industry today? Like I was talking to someone that said, since the pandemic, everybody's written a memoir, and so the market is flooded. And of course, me, the queen of bad timing, this is when I decide to write my memoir, but it's really more for me than it is for, the world. The world can do what they want with it, but it's more of a cathartic thing for me. But I think that there's probably a lot of misconceptions and myths about the publishing industry that would be helpful if you clarified.
Well, the thing about memoir is that it has always been an enormous, and it still is a very, very big field. But you have to say something. It can't just be I was born here and I had this and this and this and this. There has to be that extra element. This is a very, very new and very, very big trend. All the way through the book, you have to talk about how these events affected you, what you learned from them. Not I never forgot that lesson. That's my favorite thing, and I carried that lesson for the rest of my life. What lesson? You didn't mention what lesson. You just said, this is what happened, and I never forgot about it.
I'm writing that down right now.
Yeah, and that I was so frightened, or I really enjoyed that. No, that's not reflection. That's not anything. You have to tell. The hardest thing for people to do in memoir is to actually be vulnerable on the page. Those are the memoirs that sell. We need memoirs from people whose voices and stories have been disregarded, disenfranchised, and dismissed. We need memoir from people who have survived child sexual abuse, both male and female. We need memoir from wounded warriors who've been on the front lines in the first responder situations, doctors and fire people and
first responders.
Yeah. Police officers. We need memoir from people of color. We need memoir from Native Americans. We need memoir from immigrants. We need the memoirs that have not been part of the landscape for most of publishing. I mean,
Mhm.
one here and one there, what have you, blah, 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 but they've not been a regular part of the landscape. And we need more of them because those are the stories that will help us flip and help us depolarize the
Mhm.
country
Mhm.
and hopefully the world, because the
Right.
world has gotten very polarized. So
Yes.
that's another part of
Mhm.
ghostwriting professionalism that I don't think we were teaching when you took the class, but
Mhm.
it's now a very, very big part of the class. And we started in the introduction to ghostwriting class. It's called creative analysis. Everybody wants me to name it something else,
Mhm.
but it's a 4-level thought process: critical thinking, debate protocol, abstract reasoning, and focused ingenuity.
Mhm.
Those 4 elements, and we teach what they are. We teach how to apply them to manuscripts, and we teach how to apply them in business so that our graduates have a better handle on how to handle people with whom they don't agree, but whose book they recognize is important.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
That's good.
it's an idea that needs to go beyond ghostwriting, beyond the book business. It needs to go global because it is, once again, something to help depolarize society.
Well, you did touch on that a little bit in our class because I can remember there was at least one session where you had us take certain positions and argue those
Mhm.
positions. So I think you had just maybe started germinating that whole idea, and now you fleshed it out into something really great.
It takes me a while to deconstruct what I do instinctively. I've been doing this stuff for so long, 30 some odd years.
Mhm.
Um, I had to deconstruct it in pieces. Creative analysis was one of the last pieces I deconstructed.
Well, and also the way you broke down the different types of, I'm probably not going to say this exactly right, the different styles of writing. Like I can remember one class where you said, okay, which style of writing? I'm trying to think of what the terms were. Was it one was like circular or something? I
Oh,
can
okay.
I can picture the graphics in my
Yeah, we're
head.
talking about the templates.
Yes,
We're talking about the clover leaf
the
and the
clover leaf.
radial
Yes.
and the pyramid
Hmm.
and the freeform
Hmm.
and the what's the other one? Oh, the straight line and the modified straight line. Yes.
Hmm.
Linear and modified linear. Yes.
Hmm.
And those are structural styles that are very, very important. A lot of people don't think about them when they write. They just write. And they put together, this is one of the common misconceptions. People put together an outline for their nonfiction book,
Hmm.
excuse me, or a synopsis for their novel, and they think that's the structure, but it's not. It's just one element.
Right.
An outline is just one element. You have to have the template. You have to have the positioning. You have to have the thesis so that you know how to use the template. In a novel, you have to have that 5-tier architecture, and you have to have the multiple. Um, well, it's yeah. There's the structure, the 5-tier structure, and then you have to have the multiple character. Um, character arcs,
Mhm.
which make up a grid. Okay. And you have to understand something that people who try to ghostwrite but are not ghostwriters, you have to understand the difference between writing a character and imposing perspective, motive, and agenda on somebody else's character using what they have given you and deconstructing it. That's another thing that freelancers do not understand. They don't understand how to deconstruct from what already is and not come up with their own ideas.
Mhm.
Ghostwriting and writing are very, very separate. That's why there's so few of us,
Mhm. Mhm.
because this is not easy stuff.
No, it's way more complicated. And I remember when I was in your class and we were going through all of the different structures, I was explaining all of it to my best friend's wife, who, has her MFA from Ole Miss. She had never heard any of these terms before. And here she had taken, a master's in writing. So
Yes, it's not taught anywhere else.
no.
People
Mm-mm.
do not learn how to write books. Writing a book is not the same thing as writing anything else.
Mhm.
It's longer, it's more intense, and it needs more breathing space.
Mhm.
You need to be able to walk away from it and come back to it. That's why when somebody says to us, can you ghostwrite my book in 6 months? I say, well, yeah, we can, but it'll be a piece of mess. What I want to do is it's got to have room to breathe. There has to be room for mistakes. There has to be start and stops. If you don't like something, we have to be able to pull back and begin it again.
Mhm.
We have to be, and it's a chapter by chapter thing. That's another mistake that freelancers and writers make when they try to ghostwrite a book. They take the material, they write, the first half of the book or the first 5 or 6 chapters, whatever, and they send it to the author and say, okay, is this okay? And then they're disheartened when the author writes back and says, no, this isn't what I wanted, or this doesn't sound like me, or this isn't this, or this isn't that. And then there's the clash, and then there's the breakup, and then there's all divorces are messy.
And then there's the unfinished book that never gets published. Yeah.
Yes. I cannot
Mhm.
tell you how many authors come to us after they have the ghostwriter, the quote unquote ghostwriter they're working with fell off the face of the earth, or there was a car crash, or
Mhm.
okay, cancer, car wrecks, kids, and catastrophes are what blow apart ghostwriting situations. That's why we offer risk-free ghostwriting. That's why we're the only people in the world that can offer risk-free ghostwriting, because in the case of cancer, car arrests, kid problems, or catastrophes, we train our ghostwriters. We'll just bring in somebody else. They're going to pick up the gig right there using the same material, the same stuff, and just finish it from right there. That's why
How
we have
many
a
are on
team
your
leader.
team? How many are on your team, Claudia?
We have 4 team leaders, myself, Kana Schuyler,
Mhm.
𝗵𝗔𝗊𝗙, and
Mhm.
𝗵𝗔𝗔𝗏, but
Mhm.
we also have, I would say, between 40 and 50 certified ghostwriters that we can call upon in the event of an emergency.
Wow.
So we've got the team leaders and we bring in the ghostwriters.
Now, share a little bit
We
with.
all use the same process. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you. Share with people that how much a person could earn as a ghostwriter, because that's something that people probably aren't familiar with if they don't know anybody that does it for a living.
The standard of the industry for a really, base level business book is $35,000. Okay, but none of our ghostwriters make $35,000. They usually start off making $40,000 to $45,000, and their prices go up. One of our ghostwriters, his first gig right off, right after graduation, he signed for $60,000. He had no problems fulfilling that contract, and I think he's been working at that point ever since. Joshua Lysak, one of our ghosts, one of our graduates, recently posted that he had just had his first $100,000 month.
Wonderful.
Yes, our ghostwriters report that their income increases between 50 and 150%
Mm.
after taking our class.
Mm-hmm.
They double or triple.
Wow. Wow.
I don't think I said that properly, but you get the idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what about just doing a book proposal?
Book proposals start at $15,000. They can go as high as $30,000, because when you're doing a proposal, you've got to do a lot of work. You've got to get all of the material for the book, not just enough for the book proposal, because the book proposal has to encompass, it lays out the entire structure of the book. You have to be able to explain what it's going to go into every single chapter. You have to have the whole thing. You have to have the format. You have to have the template, you have to have the positioning, you have to have everything. The only thing you don't have to have is all the chapters.
Right.
So it's a lot of work. So they
Mhm.
start at $15,000, they go up to $30,000. Some people I know charge even more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when somebody puts together a proposal like that, that's just really pulled together and they've invested a lot, how many of those actually get published by major publishers versus they have to go to a hybrid or self-publish?
I don't have that statistic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I really don't. At this point, we're doing fewer book proposals, to be perfectly honest, and more bestseller strategy plans, because the book industry itself is in the process of changing. But that's like a fleet of ocean liners turning around in the middle of the ocean. It's long and slow. There's a wide sweep. It takes a long time, and it's going to be a long time before that happens. A lot of our authors are going to hybrids because they're faster. They get more control. And you don't have any control with a traditional publisher. And yeah, you'll still make the bestseller list because you're still going to be in the places where the cash register is ringing. And we will put together a bestseller strategy plan to help the author know what to do for the first 3 to 4 months of promoting and marketing. And from there, they can just do more of the same.
Now, can somebody come to you that has a book written and just have you do the bestseller strategy plan? Or
Sure.
do you want them to just, go through the whole process with you and then?
Well, it works better if we know more about the
Ideally.
book. But
Yeah.
we do independent book. We will do standalone book proposals. We usually throw them in with the full manuscript. We'll do standalone, and if you're doing a memoir, you have to write the whole manuscript. If you're doing fiction, you have to write the whole manuscript. But we'll do standalone book proposals. We'll do standalone bestseller strategy plans. We'll even do standalone musical line edits if that's what somebody wants, because we want to make it viable for the author. We're trying to help as many people as we possibly can. We will coach people. We will we'll do a back and forth. We'll do it. We'll try to adjust to whatever it is the author needs. But if they really want it to be our top grade, then we're going to ghostwrite the book from beginning to end. And the author is going to be intimately involved every single step of the way. Because our process is to work with the author to come up with what the author wants in the book, do all of those interviews, even if there's already a manuscript working, we're working with a manuscript, there'll be holes that we're going to want to fill in, do all of get all of that material together, do the positioning, do the structure with the template and the whole thing, do the outline, write the first chapter, and then send that first chapter to the author. And, are we on the right course? Is this the right tone? Is this the right everything? And we'll go back and forth with the author on that one chapter. And then we'll do the exact same thing with the second chapter and chapter 3 and chapter 27 and chapter 42. God forgive that there's a chapter 42. But with every single chapter, we will do it one-on-one, back and forth with the author, so that the author is right there with us all the way through. And once we've gone through all of that process, then we're going to get online, the whole team, as I said, and me and the author, and do the musical line edit together.
Now, do you still, I know this was something that was unique to you back when I was taking your class, so I don't know if this is still part of your business model, but one of the things that I thought was kind of unique about what you offered people was, somebody wants to do a memoir, oh my gosh, $50,000, I can't afford that. But then you would offer where they could break up the payments over time so that it wasn't as onerous financially.
At this point, we only work on monthly payment plans.
Okay.
Monthly payment plans. We break it down to what they can afford on a monthly basis over the term of the contract. And that way, that's one of the reasons why we can offer risk-free service. Because if God forbid something happens, when the next payment comes in, we've got the money to pay the new ghostwriter.
Right. Okay. And I think that's unique to you, is it not?
It is 100% unique to us. We are the only people who train our own ghostwriters. We all use the exact same process, and we're the only people who offer risk-free ghostwriting, team-led risk-free ghostwriting. And I'm going to tell you, the team is marvelous. Nothing makes an author feel better than realizing that there's a whole bunch of people helping them write this book. And so they have more than one opinion, and they know it's going to work, because if they've got a question, they get different ideas and they can play with it. They can bounce it back around. It's a wonderful concept.
Yeah.
Team-led, risk-free. We are the only people in the world who can offer that. The only people. I don't imagine that's going to last, but for the time being, We offer the only university certified ghostwriter training in the world, and we offer the only team-led risk-free services in the world. And we offer the only musical line editing in the world.
Now, question, you have these 3 websites. Hold on. You've got ghostwritingcentral.com, ghostwritertraining.com, and 𝗵𝗵𝗡𝗢𝗡, plus there's 𝗵𝗵𝗔𝗄𝗎𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠𝗠 Okay, take me through what these different sites
Okay, well,
represent.
Ghostwriting Central is a portal to
Okay.
everything else.
Okay.
I just thought, shouldn't we have one place where they can go and just click here and click there and click depending upon what they want? And it also goes to certifiedghostwriters.com if you want to work with one of our certified ghostwriters straight one-to-one. So that's what that is. 𝗵𝗵𝗡𝗢𝗢𝗡 is essentially our ghostwriting services, and it's frankly, it's our apprentice program. It's the only apprentice program in the world. All of our apprentices are certified through Cal State Long Beach. They have completed our program. They use our process, and they are team led by one of the 4 of us or one of the other. We have a couple of other people like to team lead too when they have the time. My website is just about me, and you can find it at 𝗵𝗵𝗡𝗢𝗢𝗡. Certified Ghostwriters is the list of our, it's an alumni site where you can find people to ghostwrite your manuscript if you don't want to go through 𝗵𝗵𝗡𝗢𝗢𝗡, and sometimes you want to work one-on-one more intimately. I understand that it's also a continuing education site for our alumni, because every time we get new ideas, every time we get new videos, every time we get new instructional material, we put it up on Certified Ghostwriters so that they can go in there. And we encourage our graduates to build community with other certified ghostwriters so that they have affiliates, so that they have people that they can rely on. If God forbid something goes wrong, they can call their affiliate and say, I need you to take over.
Right. Now, can you share with people how long the course is and what it costs to take the course, and how one would go about signing up if they want to become a certified ghostwriter through Cal State Long Beach?
Absolutely. Hang on a second, because I've got to go. I've got to open up a thing because I don't remember all of this off the top of my head. I know I should, but I don't. Remembering things off the top of my head is just not part of what I do. So where is it?
And you have a different system now. Like I remember we used a system like a platform I had never used before, but you said now it's
now we're on
right?
CoAssemble. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. Here's how it comes down. We have a 6-week training introduction to ghostwriter class. We offer it in January, in March, and in May. You can take any one of the 3, but you have to take one of them in order to qualify to take Ghostwriting Professional Designation Program. Ghostwriting Professional Designation Program runs once a year from the 3rd Wednesday of August to the 3rd Wednesday of the following July. It's 12 months. So it's 6 weeks plus 12 months. That's a full 12 months, right? This 6-week program is $575. That's one flat fee. The 22-23 ghostwriting GPDP class is going to be, let me look at it, it's going to be $5,895. And it has a monthly payment plan. You can pay that off at with a little bit of interest at over the 12 months at something like $545.
And then
so we try to make it affordable for everyone.
So set people's expectations. So say somebody's working full time and they take your class.
Everybody is working full time when they take my class.
Okay.
Everybody is always working full time. And yes, it's a lot of work. And yes, it can be something of a strain. And yes, there are 4 of us here to help you, because along with just the once a week class, you get the instructional video, you get the quiz, you get the assignment, you get the personal get feedback from all 4 of us, because the 4 of us grade as a team. And you can always get in touch with any of the 4 of us and do a one-on-one session every single week, if you so desire, to talk about what's going on, to ask questions. And we have questions and demos every single solitary week. Every once in a while we have to take a break in between
Mhm.
units. But yes, it's very intense, but we are very hand-holdy
Mhm.
because we're not here. This is not a standard academic class. Welcome to the class. Do your best. Here's your diploma. Good luck to you. We don't
Mhm.
work that way. We are here to train people to launch careers. We want to launch careers. We want to launch solopreneurs. We want to launch ghostwriting businesses. That is our end goal. So we will do everything we can to help you get through the class. We will explain and over explain. We will have the explanation come from different voices. We will have classmates help explain. We will do everything we possibly can to make sure that every single student gets the ideas that we're trying to share and grasps the concepts. Not, I fully admit, not everybody makes it. Okay,
Mhm.
not only is it a lot of work,
Mhm.
but it's a brand new mindset,
Mhm.
and you do
Mhm.
have to let go of a lot of, but this is the way I've always done it kind of concepts, and
Mhm.
accept that there are other, because this is the way I've always done it has never gotten you a $45,000 gig. Or,
Right.
one of our grads, I mean, she's one of my favorite people to talk about. She graduated. She found herself somebody in a retirement community who wanted a
Mhm.
memoir. She charged him $45,000.
Mhm.
Word got out by the time she finished that memoir, she had people lined up to pay $45, $55, $65,000, one after the other, after the other, after the other.
That's
She's
fantastic.
never been out of work because the process works,
Mhm.
the rules work,
Mhm.
the techniques work, the tools are invaluable.
Mhm.
And if you
Mhm.
follow our system, at the end of the program, we're going to tell you how to put together your business model. We're going to tell you how to put together your sales funnel. We're going to tell
Mhm.
you how to put together our proprietary um, uh, project proposal. We're going to
Mhm.
tell you how to put together everything. We're going to tell you how to position yourself in the marketplace. We're going to tell you how to launch.
Mhm.
And we're going to be here after you have launched, still to answer your questions in perpetuity.
That's awesome. Now let me ask you this. For somebody taking the class now, because I know it's quite different than it was when I took it, what's their expectation of, how much, let me think how to say this,
How
how
much
much,
time they're going to put
how,
in every week?
every week, yeah, like how much homework, how much time are they gonna have to put in? Like
It's a
what's
lot
the,
of homework.
yeah.
It's just a lot of homework, especially since we've added the sort of creative analysis and the 6 action steps to that. It's
Mhm.
a lot of homework. I did write this up. I know when it's an easy week, it's 2-3 hours.
Mhm.
When we get into doing the ponderings, those usually take maybe a little more than that.
Mhm.
When we get into analysis and recommendations, when we get into ghostwriting, when we get into musical line editing, that can take, 6-7 hours a week.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
the deadlines are not obnoxious. We give
Mhm.
you time and we give you repeats.
Mhm.
You can try again and try again and try again.
Mhm.
And we will, as I say, we will give you um, detailed feedback every time. Do this here, you're forgetting that there. Um, we If you don't have the space in your life to do it, then wait until you do.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
program will always be here.
Mhm.
If you please don't ask if you can take it asynchronously, because we have now tried that half a dozen times, and 100% of the time, which is a lot, it's like you can't have any more than that. 100% of the time it has not worked. It has never worked. So we're not doing that anymore.
As a
uh,
parent who had a son that took asynchronous courses last year, I can tell you it does not work.
it does
No,
not work.
no,
And
there's
especially something like this intense and this new, because this information is all new. It's not something just like, I've already got an MFA, I've got a master's in fine arts, I've got a literary background, I got this and that, so I'm sure I can just slide in. No, 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 no. This is all new stuff. you've never seen it before. My right hand to God, you've never seen this stuff before. And you're going to have to, like I said, let go some of that and try again, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to fulfill literary dreams. And you can't fulfill literary dreams by writing somebody else's book for them. We don't write somebody else's book for them. We write their book with them. It's a totally different mindset. Totally different.
Are there any, let's talk for a second. You touched on this topic of the supply chain. So I wanted to hear your take on what's going on with the supply chain in the book industry, if you have any insights.
Other than what's been in every single newspaper and on every single blog, and no, it's the pandemic has wreaked its havoc. I think that in addition to the pandemic, I think a lot of the societal and political polarization around the world is adding to the confusion and adding to a lot of things, because when governments get more repressive, one of the first things they try to do is to stop the flow of information and there are book burnings, and we don't want that kind of book around, and we don't want that kind of book around. And subtly, that influences a lot of things. It impacts a lot of things. And of course, there's the fact that, we don't have anybody on the docks to unload the containers, and we don't have enough truck drivers to drive them around the countries and what have you. And
and is a lot of the printing still happening in China, or no, with the major publishers?
A lot of printing is happening overseas, not necessarily just in China, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Australia, in Thailand, in some of the emerging countries, because printing is a really good industry to sell. It's always necessary. There are still a lot of printers in the United States, but they're more expensive because everything in the United States is more expensive. But when you take into consideration the shipping costs and the fact that sometimes you may not actually get those materials at all because of the docks and what have you, then it all kind of balances out.
That makes
It's
sense.
business. It's all business. It's all business. You have to remember that the book industry is a multi-$100 billion global industry everywhere. And we're now getting students coming to us from Kuwait, and coming to us from South Africa, and coming to us from New Zealand and Brazil, and from all over, because we're trying to get these ideas and we're trying to get the skill set into communities that really, really need it. Where the stories are not being given any consideration, because those people don't know how to write books, and so they're obviously going to be rejected, because the industry itself doesn't have time to bring all of those authors up to speed. So you need people like us to bridge between the author and the industry. That's our job. We are the conduit.
So
I get a little impassioned.
Yeah, but
excuse me if I'm getting loud.
It's important. It's important. So let me ask you this. Is there anything that's happening in the book industry that somebody that's just getting into it needs to know that doesn't know, in terms of trends? What are publishers buying? What's hot right now?
Publishers are buying what they can get. That's the problem, and that's what people are not understanding. There's all this talk about, they're going to the same political readers, the same, authors over and over, blah, blah, blah. Where the new voices don't know about the industry, and they don't have access to us, because there aren't enough of us, and so their voices are not being heard. And that's why I really feel that ghostwriting is at the bottom rung of changing the book industry. It's not just the people at the top who want to be publishing new voices, and who want to be publishing new stories, and who want to be publishing things that have an impact beyond the same old. It's having those manuscripts in a format and in in enough of a ready position that they can work with them, that they can accept them without it being financially disadvantaged. It has to be viable. And in order for it to be viable, it has to go through all of the processes I've been talking about. So we're incredibly important. We need more and more and more ghostwriters to get these ideas across. We need ghostwriters in communities of color. We need ghostwriters in Native American communities. We need ghostwriters in South America. We need ghostwriters in Africa. We need ghostwriters in the Middle East. We need ghostwriters in the Asian countries. We need ghostwriters in Russia. We need ghostwriters everywhere.
I agree.
Professional ghostwriters, people who know what they're doing, not people who are going to take authors' money and leave them with something that cannot be sold.
One of the things that was interesting for me in the last few weeks, I did a panel with two other publicists, book publicists with the South Jersey Writers Group. So all three of us were on this panel, and we were all giving our opinions about how to market books. And it was really interesting because one of the gentlemen, he specifically only markets Hollywood memoirs, celebrity stuff.
That's not hard to market.
Right. But it was interesting because the writers were kind of going, well, what do you think about self-publishing? It's people still feel a little bit of shame, which is sad, about self-publishing. And it was interesting because the Hollywood publicist said, there's no longer a stigma. When you pitch to the media, they don't care if it's self-published or if it's with Random House. They do not care. It doesn't have the stigma that it had 10 years ago.
What they want is to know that it's a viable book. It doesn't matter so much how it gets published, but it has to be a viable book. If you're in Hollywood, you can afford to hire all the various people that you need, and you probably know most of them because it's part of the business, to make that into a viable book. They can hire the ghostwriter. They can hire, there are some ghostwriters who only work in Hollywood. They know how to put these books together. They can hire the right editors. They can hire the graphic artists and the designers and blah, 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 and the publicists, what have you. It all comes down to the same thing. But if you're somebody who, let's say, has a story about how you lost your entire family to COVID, you lost first, you lost 7 people in your family to COVID, and you want to write that book, and you have no idea how to put together, and you find somebody who helps you write the book, and you don't know what to do with it. You don't have a clue what to do with it. Not a clue. Yeah, you want to self-publish because you think it's cheaper, but in the long run, it's going to cost you a fortune, and your book's not going to go anywhere because you have to pay money to make the money. That's the same has been true for every product since the beginning of time. You have to spend the money to make the money. You have to invest in the product. A book is a property. It's a marketable literary property.
Right.
That's what we pride ourselves on turning out. We don't turn out good books. We turn out marketable literary properties.
If there were a fiction category that would sell better than any other, what would that be right now? Do you know?
Romance. It's always been.
Okay.
Always been, always will be. And you have to go, because think of the biggest novels that you've read lately. They've either been action adventure a la Tom Clancy and Michael Crichton and blah, blah, blah. Lee Charles, or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah.
Which tends to go straight to film.
Yeah.
Or it's romance, because romance is in constant demand, because once you've read it, you want another one, and you want another one, and you want another one. The romance writers have a tendency to have to churn those out, and they don't use ghostwriters. Why would they? There's not enough money in them. But if somebody's trying to break into the book writing business, write romance. Boy, girl, boy, it doesn't matter. Kumquat and apricot, it doesn't matter. Whatever you want to write, it's 2 people and that journey, and all of the things that is trying to stop them from having that journey come
Right.
to a happy ending and make it a happy ending. If it's not a happy ending, it's a Russian novel.
Or Swedish, right?
Norwegian, not Swedish.
Or Norwegian, sorry. Yeah.
Norwegian novels don't always end happy.
Yeah.
Russian novels don't always end happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that puts it into a different classification, because
Right.
if somebody goes to romance, they're going to want a happy ending. That's a reader expectation that if you deny, you're never going to sell again. Unless you have classified yourself as a Russian or Norwegian ending, that kind of a book, and that it's not it's a dystopian.
Dystopian. Yeah.
Dystopian.
Yeah. Yeah. I got an author client right now with a dystopian novel, three-part series. Yeah.
People love to write dystopian books, but more people like to read a happy ending. Because especially, I mean, we're all living in a time of, as a Chinese curse says, interesting times. We're living in interesting times. We don't know if tomorrow there's going to be another variety of the crisis. We don't know if tomorrow there's going to be another climate change catastrophe, like there was yesterday.
Yeah. In Kentucky.
In Kentucky,
right?
We don't know what's going to happen from day to day. We don't know if the powers that be in this state or that state, in this country or the other country, are going to, decide that every female over the age of 25 has to be murdered, or if every boy has to be this. We don't know what's going to happen. So people would like a happy ending now and again.
Yeah.
Dystopian is all very well and good, but those happy endings are bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah. The Walking Dead is a little too real right now. Yeah. All right. Well, we need to come to a close here because I have a lunch date at 2:30.
Okay. So let's wrap this up. I thank you very, very much for the opportunity to talk to you about all of this.
I thank you for taking the time this afternoon. I know how crazy busy you are. I mean, one thing I want to ask you, the get-together you're going to have in 2022.
Ghostwriters Unite.
Tell me about that.
Okay. We're hoping it to be in October. We don't know. I mean, we're making plans, but whatever is going on with the COVID could change everything.
Yeah.
Like that. But we're hoping it's going to be in October. We're hoping it's going to be either in Palm Springs or the Las Vegas area.
Make it Palm Springs, please.
I will pass the word on. I'm not doing it alone. There's a committee of wonderful people, and it's going to be of, by, and for ghostwriters, entirely for emerging ghostwriters, experienced ghostwriters, and ghostwriter businesses. And we're going to talk about what ghostwriters want to talk about. How do you find clients? How do you deal with crazy? How do you structure that contract? What are the skills you need? What are the mindsets you have to have? We now offer an entire unit or an entire session on mindset transitions. So that people know, yes, you're here, aren't you? Well, you got to go here. And then after that, you're going to have to jump here. And after that, you're going to have to go through these 15 mindset transitions to get to where you need to go in order to earn the kind of money and command the kind of respect and attract the kind of clients you want. So we're going to be talking about that at Ghostwriters Unite. It's going to be cocktail party Thursday evening, then a full 2 days of panel discussions, workshops, and roundtables on Friday and Saturday, and then a wrap-up on Sunday, wrap-up brunch. There will be a banquet Saturday night where we can introduce all of our sponsors and thank them for helping us make this come to pass. And so we are actively looking for sponsors who want to be in on this most important level of the book industry. We are the conduit. And we need more good ghostwriters. We need them everywhere. There are almost 8 billion people on the face of the earth. And there are less than 500 professional ghostwriters. And I'm being really, really generous with
Mhm.
that number.
Right, right.
We need more.
Well, that sounds like a good time, this this event in October. I hope it happens, and I hope I can be there. I hope I can
If
participate.
it doesn't come down in October, we will push it back to whenever it needs to be.
Right. Right. And on the flip side, I'll also I will look for some sponsors for you and see if I can and make any of that happen.
Cool. We should have that website up shortly. I figure by the end of the year. I have at the end of the year is my deadline to get all the crap that has to be done.
And if you need, do you need panelists at all for your event?
That's my department.
Okay.
If you want to know about that, get
Who
in
should I
touch
talk
with
to?
Derek Lewis.
Derek Lewis. Okay. All right. I'll connect with him and see if there's any. I don't know if I have anybody I can offer, but maybe.
We'll follow up everything.
Availability. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Claudia. I so appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Oh, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.